Welcome back to The Slice, everybody. We are coming at you from basically behind the scenes, virtually behind the scenes at the National Bank Open in Toronto on the ATP, the Masters 1000 in Canada as they know it. And there's a lot going down, obviously. A lot of changes. Nadal withdrew from the tournament, which is big news. We're going to talk about that and how it affects his U.S. Open run because he also withdrew from Cincinnati. The Canadian heartbreak. Felix, Shapo, and Bianca have all lost before the quarterfinals. Pretty sad about it. But it's also been an awesome tournament. I've been behind the scenes, like I said, in the virtual press rooms, asking all the players questions, chatting them, trying to make them smile, have some different questions than the usual journalists that you see. So that's been really, really fun. And this Masters 1000 has been another look at the future of tennis. So that's always interesting because if you don't like that, I'm not sure if you actually really like tennis. So let's get into the quarterfinal matchups at this year's Canada Masters 1000, my take on it, and what's been going on at this tournament this year. Welcome to The Slice.
I go fair. You've been watching The Slice?
We're coming at you from the Delray Beach Open. This is we are here with the man, Milos Raonic.
Welcome to The Slice.
Well, yeah, folks, thanks for being here as always. Click the subscribe button. Like this video if you like tennis. If you don't like tennis, don't like this video. But stay here and subscribe because we appreciate you viewing the show. Also, visit Courtside Sports. I know there's a new Yonex V-Core Pro, I think it's called. It's like a new colorway. Hubert Hikachi's using it. You can just get that racket brand new for 10% off if you use our code at courtsidesports.com, which is really cool. I've had some cool experiences in the last few days. Talked to Rafa Nadal for the first time ever in a press conference. That was cool. I asked him about how he goes, how his quote is, losing is not my enemy, fear of losing is my enemy. I asked him how that kind of mentality is different when he's coming back from an injury like he has been. So this is his like pre-tournament press conference, and then he ended up pulling out before his first match, which is not great, obviously, for him. So he also pulled out of Cincinnati, so that means he's going to have basically no warm-up tournaments before the French Open or before the U.S. Open since basically the French Open because he played 2 matches in Washington, but he didn't look fully himself in either one. So Rafa fans, that's not a good sign. It's also not, Federer's not a great sign. I just saw a quote from him today at the FC Basel match. He's like, yeah, I haven't played. He's like, I haven't done anything for a while because of my knee. I'm going to meet with the team next week and see what's going on. So that sounds like he's not even going to be at the U.S. Open. So that's a little depressing for sure. If you're a tennis fan, that's a little depressing. Djokovic is also going to be coming in there with no tournaments since the Olympics. So that's probably a good thing from him. He'll just be rested up. He'll be ready to go. I have no doubt about it. But that's the U.S. Open. This is the Masters 1000 in Canada, as they call it. Obviously, you guys know I'm a Canadian, so this is my home tournament. So it's been cool to be in the press with like TSN, Sportsnet, all the guys, those reporters that I've like watched on TV before. Now I'm just like virtually in the room with them asking questions to these players, which is cool. Funny moment from the tournament, which I'm sure you've seen. If you haven't seen it yet, look it up on just look it up on YouTube or Twitter. Tennis Twitter has a lot of clips like this. But Karen Khachanov, when he was playing Karatsev, was given a point penalty for saying shit in Spanish. I think it's like Maita or Mieta or something. I should look that up. But anyways, he was like, didn't understand. He couldn't. The umpire was explaining to him that that's a swear word in the English language or just in the world. And he's like, it's not a swear word. And they were like getting into this debate about it, and it was hilarious. Another funny moment was Daniil Medvedev hitting the ball, doing a smash and hitting Bublik, who lobbed it back up and then and fell to the floor. Then as he fell to the floor, Medvedev said sorry and then finished the point by smashing it again. But then the umpire called hindrance, even though the point was like over basically, and gave the point to Bublik, or just made a replay it, which was hilarious. Daniil Medvedev, by the way, is like probably the funniest person, or at least the best character I like interviewing in the post-match press conferences. Hilarious, well thought out, and just he's quickly becoming my favorite character, I think, on the tour. Hilarious. So anyways, Nadal withdrew. The Canadian heartbreak is in full effect. This is kind of the first time this tournament's happened since 2019. Bianca Andreescu won it then. Obviously, she won the U.S. Open right after that. And Felix and Dennis were pretty young at that time. So now Felix and Dennis came in here. Dennis and, both of them seeded, both of them high hopes to go deep. And they both sputtered out and lost in their first matches, which is just not clutch at all. Felix to Dusan Lajovic, who's a pro. It was windy conditions. He had to change his game plan going in. And for part of that match, it just didn't look like he had a game plan, which I talked to him about afterwards. And I said, like, what was your game plan going in? And he's like, yeah, it was normal. Like, I'm an aggressive player, but then based on the windy conditions, I had to change my game plan. And it just seems like he wasn't able to do that. And I think those veteran players like Lajovic or like an Isner, who I talked today, just have a lot more experience being like, okay, this is not working today, so I can go to this plan and implement this style. And they have more of like an identity to their game, where I feel like some of the young players like Shapo, like Felix, if it's not going their way, they're like, well, that's the only way I know how to play at this point. So I think with maturity comes having like those B levels, those C levels to fall back onto and like know what you're doing there. With Shapovalov, it was just like like he said, he didn't have enough match experience under his belt on that court, even though he grew up playing there. TFO was a lot more comfortable out there, and he couldn't handle the conditions, and he didn't play his best tennis. So that's the big letdown for the two Canadian guys at the Canadian tournament, but not the end of the world from them. Obviously, they got Cincinnati next week. Bianca Andreescu lost today to Ons Jabeur in an awesome match where Bianca fought like crazy, like she always does. She actually like hurt her toe in the middle of the second set, and there was a bunch of rain delays through the match where it looked like second set 3-all, she had just broken to get back to 3-all. It looked like she had the momentum, and then there was rain delay, and then they came back, and then she rolled her toe, and then after that, Ons Jabeur just played amazing, hitting through the court. The Tunisian crowd in Toronto was like louder than the Canadian fans. And actually, afterwards, Bianca said something about that. She's like, I felt like her fans were more there than mine. So taking a small shout or a little jab, not really a jab, obviously, she was just saying what she heard at the Canadian fans, though. Canadian fans are usually pretty passionate, but maybe they're too nice. Maybe they're saying sorry too much, like Daniil Medvedev. I don't know. But that was interesting. It's tough for Bianca to go out like that. She was playing well. And I'm excited for her to get back into full form and doing her real best. So the real big stars, or not the real big stars, but the two main seeds of this tournament with Nadal gone, I would say is Medvedev and Tsitsipas for sure. And they're taking care of business. So the quarterfinal matchups are this, as you see here. And we got some interesting ones because if you've been following, you would know that Hurkacz beat Medvedev back at Wimbledon. So Medvedev, I asked him just an hour ago. I said, do you play with like a chip on your shoulder after you like lost to a guy and at Wimbledon and now you're trying to get it back? And he said to me, it depends on who you're playing. If you like playing against them or not, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you who. And I kind of laughed about that. But I basically think he was like, if I don't like the guy, then I'll have more of a chip on my shoulder. But if I like the guy, which I'm sure he likes Hubert Hurkacz because he's the nicest guy in tennis, I think. So that's going to be an interesting. That's the only time they played. Hurkacz beat Medvedev. That's a big time match at Wimbledon. So will it happen again here? I feel like is it just me or do people sleep on Hurkacz just because he's a nice guy? Like to me, he's got one of the best skill sets on the tour, and he's got one of the best frames and game styles to do damage in this next time. He could honestly win a Grand Slam in the next couple of years. He's made the semifinals of Wimbledon, and he's just a super solid all-around player. So Medvedev is probably the better player, but I think Hurkacz is the more classically like tight game. So this is going to be another interesting matchup. That's my number one matchup to look for. Then we got Isner versus Monfils. Obviously, that can be super entertaining with Monfils bouncing around the court, just being super athletic. Monfils leads their head-to-head 7-5. They've both of them veterans, played for a long time. Isner's going to lean on his serve. Isner's been playing well. He won Atlanta. I don't even think he played in Washington, and now he's on a win streak here. So I think he's on like an 11-match win streak. I'm not sure. Tsitsipas versus Ruud. Ruud, they've only played once, and it was back in Madrid, I think, on the clay. Talked to both of them today. Tsitsipas said he's looking forward to it. Ruud got the better of him, and basically he's just going to try and do his thing, and Tsitsipas is going to feel confident on the hard courts because he's had some of his best results on hard courts of his career, obviously. Ruud, on the other hand, he wrote after, you might have seen this, you probably did on Tennis TV, he wrote on the camera lens, hard courts with a smile. And if you follow on Twitter or Instagram, Nick Kyrgios basically has complained for years that this little clay swing after Wimbledon is just a way for the dirt rats, as he calls them, to get points. And Casper Ruud won 3 ATP 250s in a row, 750 points. That's pretty crazy. Against players, I think you only had to play 2 guys in like the top 100 in that time. That could be completely wrong. Again, should have looked it up. But anyways, so they had a little back and forth on Twitter. It's funny. So I was like, I was in the press conference with Ruud right after. I was like, buddy, I have to ask, did you write that with one specific player in mind? And he said no. I should have said, did the player's name rhyme with like Slick Cheerios or something? But he said, no, not within mine. I just wanted to say I love the hard courts. It's kind of like a political answer, which I'm like, you know what? Obviously, that's directed at Nick Kyrgios or all the doubters on Twitter who are saying this guy's only a clay. I don't know who would be saying that. He's one of the best players in the world. He's ranked 6th at this tournament, a Masters 1000, so that's just kind of bogus. Anyways, that's going to be a hot fire matchup as well. I'm leaning Tsitsipas on that just because he's been better on the hard courts, but they're both absolute ballers and can get it done. So it's going to be dynamite. Big time. And then we got RBA versus Opelka. Opelka took out Nick Kyrgios earlier in the tournament. That was an entertaining matchup where Nick Kyrgios lost his mind after he thought Opelka touched the net, reaching over it. I couldn't see anything from the replays, but that basically sunk Nick Kyrgios' ship. Unfortunately, didn't get to talk to him in the press conferences after he's been like sharing our posts on Instagram, which has been really cool. Shout out. RBA versus Opelka. They have 2-1 RBA lead. RBA can handle Opelka's pace. He's a good returner. There's like a bit of fire and ice. That's an interesting matchup as well. Just a lot of quality tennis to be played here in Toronto at the National Bank Open, which shout out to Tennis Canada again and the National Bank Open for giving this slice a press pass. I hope I've been doing it justice. I feel like I have. I feel like, they call on me lots to go first and ask these questions. I feel like I'm trying to speak the players' language and make them enjoy it and not despise the press conference. So anyways, there's a look at the quarterfinals. If I had to pick semifinals right now, I'd be picking Medvedev versus Isner, and then Tsitsipas versus, I'm going to say Opelka, actually, because he has been looking dangerous in this tournament. So that's my picks. What do you guys think about everything that's happened? Rafa pulling out, Federer looking like he's not going to play anytime soon, Djokovic waiting until the U.S. Open to play again. All these guys' levels. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, check out our most recent video, which is where I'm fixing my forehand with the new head pro at Bear Mountain, Joe Wood. Legendary video. It's a little vlog for you. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think of my form, and we'll talk to you later. This is The Slice's continued coverage of the National Bank Open in Toronto from your boy.